Hey everyone, it's Caleb here. What if I told you XRP just quietly became official collateral at the world's biggest future exchange, and the company behind it is now one step away from becoming a federally regulated bank? First up, big thing today happening, the Clarity Act has dropped a new language and it's shaping the crypto space for sure. Now, this is some news coming out, a bit of a leak. So we'll see once it comes out if this Clarity Act is even going to be passed this next coming week before Easter. We got 1 week. This is the big one. Let's see if it happens. So the latest draft that people are hearing about right now is that it's going to block platforms from offering yield or rewards on stablecoin balances. So in return to that news, this is why I'm starting to think it's for sure, is Circle dropped over 20%, Coinbase nearly 10%. So here's what happened. The Senate negotiators released updated language that's more restrictive than expected, and no more interest-bearing stable coins for retail users on major platforms. So that's a big shift because stablecoins have been one of the biggest liquidity engines in crypto. If yield disappears at the retail level, that changes how capital is going to flow. But, you know, here's where it gets really interesting for Ripple and for RLUSD. So in December 2025, Ripple received conditional approval from the Office of the Control of the Currency to, establish a federally regulated national trust bank. Well, this is a major signal. The proposed structure would allow Ripple to manage, RLUSD reserves, provide custody, operate under federal oversight, much closer to how traditional financial institutions work, right? So it's important because this conditional approval, it's not, a fully operational bank yet, but it's working towards it, right? So Ripple still has to, meet capital requirements, pass, final regulatory checks and complete, pre-operating conditions and stuff. But, the direction for Ripple is clear, and for RLUSD. And, that direction, stable coins are moving into the banking layer. That's basically what's happening. Banks are like, for a while there, we were thinking maybe we'll just have, stable coins. We can get some yield from them. Maybe it's going to be less than what they were previously wanting to offer, but it's almost looking like if it's not a stable coin that's in a bank, then it's not going to be, they're not going to allow it to be used. And that kind of makes sense because, they've been fighting this tooth and nail, right? So traditional markets, it's all about money. It's all about money. And unfortunately, the little guy kind of gets screwed, right? So that's why we're trying to get into these protocols so we can kind of get ahead of the curve, as it were, right? So, RLUSD operates inside that regulatory, system that the banks like, right? And of course, if Ripple has its own bank, then, well, there you go. So, XRP plays a different role. It's not a yield product. It's of course it's the bridge, it's the settlement layer connecting value between systems, right? That's what XRP is designed to do. But in the world where stablecoins get locked into banking rails, well, that makes XRP even more important in my opinion. So, regulation might hurt some sectors short term, but it could strengthen XRP's long-term role. So, let me ask you guys, does this make you more bullish on XRP, on Ripple long term? Drop a yes or a no below. Let me know what you guys are thinking. Let's see what Bitcoin's been up to. Reports of a potential Israel-Iran ceasefire. Of course, hostility over in the geopolitical arena over there has been, it's been a whirlwind. It's hard to know what the heck these guys are doing and when they're going to be doing it. And, people are taking out like a $1.5 billion long 5 minutes before Trump ends up saying, we're going to extend this 2-day thing to a five day. And then, it's just a dog and pony show, in my opinion. I don't really who knows what they're doing, but somebody's getting rich off of it. That's what I know. Somebody's getting rich off of it. And you try to play the game of chess the best you can. But if somebody comes around and just kicks all the pieces, it's like, what are you what are you going to do, right? We don't have a crystal ball. We're not the ones making the big moves. There's other things happening, right? So we saw about $550 million in short liquidations in the last like 24 hours. So the chain reaction, of course, we have like you get a little bit of lower oil, lower inflation expectations, lower inflation. That's a better that's a better rate outlook, and better rates are actually bullish for crypto. So I mean, this could end up being I think it's going to end up being good for crypto. I think crypto's on the up and the up, but when Bitcoin moves on, macro news, alts follow, the blue chips follow. It just, XRP tends to lag. It always has. That's just, if you're new to this space, XRP's usually lagging, although it's starting to kind of flip around where XRP is the leader of the pack. We'll see. We'll see if XRP is the leader of the pack in this next bull run. Of course, everything's going to follow Bitcoin when it comes to crypto. That's just, it's the biggest dog in the park, right? So Wall Street's sending some clear signals as well. Institutions are doubling down on crypto's real world use case. So, what's their focus? I mean, it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, assets tied to infrastructure and utility. So, this isn't really, the cool thing about this is not really retail speculation anymore. This is actual true institutional adoption. It's what we've been waiting for. And that's exactly where XRP fits. XRP was built for cross-border payments, liquidity, bringing bridging assets, right? And now, institutional grade collateral, right? So every time Wall Street talks about financial infrastructure, they're kind of validating XRP's use case, right? So it's like I think the narrative is shifting despite what, maybe we're hearing from the news, but it's like, on days like these, I don't know about you, but I'm buying more XRP. It's like you just can kind of see it written on the wall. It's on its way. So, I mean, XRP just went through a major leverage reset, right? The open interest dropped from 2.6 billion to under 1 billion, and that's a huge flush. So at the same time, XRP ETFs, they've pulled in over 1.3 billion since launch. Did you hear that? 1.3 billion since they launched. The XRP ETFs have pulled in over 1.3 billion since launch. You don't think there's an appetite for XRP in this space? There is a massive appetite for XRP. So it seems like, oh, nobody's interested. Guys, the numbers are saying that they're interested. People have been gobbling this stuff up. Institutions have been gobbling this stuff up, right? So, I mean, and XRP's been holding in this whole trend around a $1.40, $1.41, right? To me, that shows strength. To me, that shows strength in XRP. It's holding stronger than it did in cycles past, right? And when leverage resets like this, it often builds a stronger base for a move for the next move, right? So because it's driven by real demand and not just speculation, right? So there's going to be there's an actual even potentially a supply crunch for XRP because it's being used, right? So there's regulatory clarity is improving, and the pieces I think the pieces are aligning. The fear and greed index is still, of course, in fear. Oh man, my back. I'm always in the truck when I'm talking to you guys. Just driving around here and there doing errands. It's snowing like mad over here. My goodness, I'm hoping, I want to see the snow gone. Comment below, give me a like if there's anybody else out there just struggling through the snow. I want to see green skies. I want to see blue skies and some green grass growing. I'm an outdoorsy guy. I like being outside. The snow is fun, but man, it was almost gone, and then now it's back. But whatever. What can you do, right? So let's combine everything happening right now. It's like you got potential regulatory clarity, right? You got institutional ETF inflows still going on. You got bank level infrastructure, via RLUSD with Ripple. Now you got CME collateral status. This is no longer speculation. I can't say it enough. This is infrastructure being built in real time, and we're watching it, guys. We're watching it. So, a realistic base case for XRP by the end of 2026. A lot of people are, saying XRP could rip to $6 come after the Clarity Act, right? Like it just takes some of those levels. Who knows what that by the end of 2026 could be? I think, you're gonna have some naysayers like, oh well, I think XRP can maybe just hit its previous all-time high. Guys, there will come a day, in my personal opinion, when it would be a deal to be getting XRP under $10. It's like, how many people thought that they missed the boat for Bitcoin when Bitcoin was trading at, $3,500? They're just like, all the major price appreciation from Bitcoin, that all, that we missed it. We missed it. I have friends that were like that. I was even like that. I was kind of like, well, I don't really understand what Bitcoin is. I don't really, I don't really get it. You don't need to understand exactly what these protocols do and exactly how they do it. It's good to research, of course. You don't want to be making an investment based off of what some guy on YouTube says. Go do your own research, right? Go invest and investigate yourself. But you owe it to yourself to do that, for one. I think you owe it to your future family. I think you owe it to, the generations past. We kind of joke, but it's like, man, like my brother and I will kid around, but it's like from all the way back, we got this, you got your folks, you got your grandparents, you got your great grandparents, your great grandpa, your great grandpa, blah 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 blah. It goes all the way down the chain. You say not one of them kind of took advantage or figured out an opportunity where they would make generational wealth for their family, could set everybody up. Now you don't want to be like, fed a silver spoon. It's good to learn, work ethic and become your own person and your own man or woman, and just like, go out there and trailblaze. That's great. But you know what? There's nothing wrong with having a path already laid out for you, and then and from there you can go a little higher, go a little further, right? And that's what I want for my children one day. That's what I want for my family, is that like I can this time it's like they could look back and say, oh, that great grandpappy Caleb over there, he saw an opportunity, he went all in on it, and because he got ahead of the boat, now our family's in a position where we can bless and we can help other people. We can really make a difference in this world. We can we don't have to be living paycheck to paycheck, mouth to mouth. I don't think we're designed to live like that, guys. I really don't. I think that we were designed to have, people minded, relational minded, where we have enough time to actually relax, enough, you need to have purpose, but enough to to be able to build something that you care about, that you're not just like, I'm just gonna have to work my job because I can't afford to even think about what I'd want to do or what my hobbies might be, blah blah blah. And the world is getting more and more and more expensive, and then what happens when they roll out universal basic income? I don't want to be somebody on universal basic income. You get onto that, you're a slave for the man forever, right? Because it's like, he ties it into this or that, or some, social credit score or whatever, carbon credit this, carbon credit that. Oh, you use your carbon credit allowance. Looks like you can't fly home for Christmas this year, right? It's like, we're not, man. Don't miss this opportunity, you guys. I don't want you to miss it. That's why I'm here. If you find value, if you're learning, if you're growing, please, hit that like button, subscribe. I really, really appreciate it. And let's grow this channel. Let's just get this information out to as many people as we possibly can. Before this opportunity it passes us by, just like all the opportunities that passed people by centuries ago. You know, it doesn't take long to think about, right? Like think about, think about social media, right? Facebook came out, nobody really, what's that gonna really be? It's just another chat platform. I mean, streaming platforms, right? Netflix, right? It's like, that put away Blockbuster. Blockbuster missed it. Maybe some of you don't remember Blockbuster. If you remember Blockbuster, you definitely got to leave a comment. Just let me know, the demographic that we're, dealing with here. But there's some youngins out there that have never been to Blockbuster, right? And it's like, I don't want to miss it. I don't want you guys to miss it either. So I want you guys to stay positive, be blessed. I'm going to catch you in the next one, okay?